Okay, in this demonstration, I'm going to show you how to make a glue gun. I guess it's a printing plate. I'm going to draw on top of here with a glue gun. I'm going to ink this up and I'm going to pull some prints. So the first step, and I just grabbed this magazine image. I liked it because of the repetition of the circles and sort of the triangular wedges of cake. Okay, so first step is to glue it on with some Mod Podge. If you don't have Mod Podge, I think a glue stick would be fine. I'm doing this kind of rapidly. I don't want it too thick and blobby. Okay, then I put my image down. So I want to make sure it's really stuck to the cardboard. I'm going to scrape across. And I probably could have gone directly on top of that with my scraper. Okay, now the fun part. You take your glue gun and, oh, actually, hang on, I lied. Okay, I could just go on with my glue gun. I think it really helps to go over with Sharpie and mark out what I want to trace. So I want the cake and probably have to reduce things to smaller shapes because that glue gun line is going to be a little bit blobby, which some people get concerned about, but actually you kind of want those blobs. It's going to add some unexpected visual interest. So the flower, how would I deal with that? I can either ignore it or I can just go like so. Okay, I'm not going to do this whole thing. I'm just going to show you the process, and then I'm going to pull a print from my dog portrait that I made earlier. Okay, so glue gun. I'm squeezing and drawing at the same time. I'm going kind of quickly. Kind of have to go quickly. So I got a big blob right there, okay? That's going to be interesting. Then here comes this flower. So in a way, you're abstracting or reducing the shapes even further. I could put the lines in the cake if I want or not. So then this has to dry. And then and I'm not going to wait for it to dry because that is just going to take too long. But then I would take some gesso and roll over that. I'll just do some down here so you can kind of see the amount. And I like these little foam rollers. You can get this at the paint department. I think they're like $3. And they come with this little tray. It's a very nifty, useful thing. You want to get the gesso on your roller evenly. I don't want big old blobby blobs, okay? And then you're rolling across. I think maybe this, okay, it's a little bit dry enough. So I go on top. And this is just making kind of a seal. So when I put my paint on there, hopefully that magazine image will not start absorbing paint and peeling up. Okay, so you can see that plate shape is now reduced to a more abstract form, which is interesting. I'll get this print with these funny little shapes. And then later when I pull prints, I could paint in some of those shapes. and take it in another direction. And because I have multiple prints, I can do a lot of different versions, which I like. I like projects where I can get a lot of mileage out of what I'm doing. Okay, so then that I would let dry, probably stick it in the sun before going to the next phase. Okay, so now here's the one that I already created of the dog. I'm going to roll black paint on there again and pull a print. I'm using this liquid Craft Smart paint. You could use another color if you want. A red line would be kind of interesting. You can play with that. I'm just using this up because this paint is kind of getting old, and the black line is going to be the easiest to see.
So that's not acrylic, it's a different kind of paint?
No, this is Craft Smart fluid acrylic. You can get it at Michael's. So if you don't have this, but you've got another fluid acrylic, that's fine too. It just needs to be fluid. Otherwise, I'm going to get globs on here. Okay. All right. And this foam, I'm going to use the foam roller, and I'm also going to use a brush in case you don't have a foam roller. Okay. So, and usually the first print is kind of funky until you build up enough paint on there. Okay, so I can also, I'm taking a dry brush. I can move some of this paint around if I want. I can remove some of it. I could probably use a rag actually. So I'm going to do that. First, I'm rifling through my trash can here looking for a rag. Okay, so let's say I want the dog to be mostly black. And somebody, I think Ralpha, you need to mute yourself.
Oh,
So,
thank you.
Yep. So I'm going to pull some out. Okay, so that's something you can play with. Let's say I want an area darker, like Jen said. What if I don't have a brayer? Yeah, you could brush it on. Absolutely. You just want plenty of paint on that top surface, on the glue gun bumps. Okay. All right. Then I'm going to take my Japanese rice paper. I suggest printing on multiple surfaces. You could do rice paper. You just want it to be something that's thin enough and absorbent enough. Just going to rub this with my hand, and you'll see the image coming through. Fabric works well. If you want to test out fabric, you could get an old cotton pillowcase or sheet. And if you really like that, then you could go buy some muslin and try it. Okay, so let's see what this looks like. Okay, so there's one. And as you go along, you might say, oh, you know, I wish there was more paint on that eye so I could focus on that in subsequent prints. Or later, if I come back and do more work on it, you know, I could add more in. I could make adjustments to my piece, which I'm already doing. Okay, so let me do one more, and then this one, this is, you can get this roll in the paint department. Someone gave it to me. I think it's for when you paint your walls, you put that brown paper to protect the floor. But I like that it's thinner than a paper bag, so it's going to pick up the paint better than like a super thick paper bag. Okay, you know what? I just got this creative inspiration here. Okay, so you could go all black, but I'm going to play with this gesso here. I'm going to put some white in there. I'm going to let it blend right on the surface. So, and you can even do this with color if you want. Okay, I'm going to mush it around on the background. Let's see what that looks like. Now I have to work fast because my paint is already probably starting to dry. So I'm kind of going fast and loose here, even letting it be a little bit blobby. That could be interesting. Endless possibilities. And you can just keep doing these. And then when you get enough prints, we'll do some more work on them next week, in addition to painting directly onto this printing plate. Okay, let's see what I'm going to get on this one. And I'm going to go brown paper here. I think this is my favorite part, is the rubbing. And again, you know, if you get something you don't like, who really cares? You can keep doing more until you get some that you do like, right? I like to use my fingers. You can also use the back of a spoon. Okay, let's see what we got. And this is actually pulling up some of the magazine from below. That happens sometimes. Okay, so here's what I got. It didn't show maybe as much as I would have liked. But I could either leave it that way, or I could come back in and directly paint on that right away, or at another time. I do like how it's picked up the texture of the brush, though. I like that a whole lot. Okay, so I could do more work to that, and then I'll quickly show the other brown paper one I got that I painted more on top. So I still have this really interesting line that has a lot of character to it throughout the dog. But you know, I could create many different versions. Oh, and then I'll save this. And then next week, I'm going to actually paint the printing plate as well.